Are Celtic actually going out their way and trying to sign an additional striker on top of the incoming Shin Yamada from the J-League? Well, if you read the reports late last night, that's apparently exactly what Celtic are trying to do. And it's a name that we have never heard of before, but it is a fresh, young, exciting talent. Let's find out who they are. Hello there and welcome back to Celtic World Order podcast. As always, I'm Steve O'Matt. It's an absolute pleasure to welcome you back here at the channel for a wee surprise video. One, to be honest, I never saw coming, and I suppose that is the glorious thing about this transfer window period, because you never know when something new is going to crop up that is interesting, maybe a wee bit exciting, a bit out of left field, out the blue you could say, or in the case of Celtic, out of the green. And that's exactly what we've got now. What have we been looking for? What have we been crying out for? We've been crying out for additional quality reinforcements as we look towards we've got the weekend's friendly against Newcastle coming up. More importantly, on the horizon, we have the opening of the new season. And then if we just look a wee bit further down the line, we have that real make or break Champions League qualifier. And we have been shouting for additional reinforcements of quality, of the standard required to really supplement what's already there and help out Brendan Rodgers as we look to not only assert and continue with domestic dominance, but get back into the Champions League, give another good account of ourselves, and hopefully go one step further. One of those positions that we well know is a striker, because we have never really truly replaced the Kyogo, the now at Birmingham Kyogo, as we lost them in January. Now we landed on our feet, of course we did, because Daisen Maeda stepped up to the plate and he showed that golden boot winning form that he had in the J-League. Luck indeed, because we also went out and spent big, didn't we? We brought in Adam Ida from Norwich for the tune of 9 million quid, with add-ons, of course. And after that, very impressive, destructive, shall we say, in terms of the opposition loan period, we all thought, well, big man's going to kick on here. He helped us over the line with the league. He single-handedly delivered us the League Cup against Rangers. But I think it's safe to say that last season, despite a good goals to time on the pitch ratio, well, it's not quite been the killer instinct. It's not quite been what we all signed up for. Yes, 20-odd goals is impressive at the best cases, but you'll always, and we don't like doing it, when you put a decent price tag on it, you just expect a wee bit more. You want a striker that you can hang your hat on. And I think it is safe to say, if we're really honest, big Adam Ida hasn't really done that. In terms of the pre-season so far, yeah, he scored a goal against Australia, but they were essentially part-timers. They were absolute dog meat, shall we say. You can only score what he's put in front of you. But I think when we then looked at the Lisbon friendly, he looks very much like a guy who's cutting a frustrated figure, maybe someone who's down in confidence, among other things. And it's safe to say there is question marks and there is concerns over the big man's ability to really step up and take it to the next level. Hopefully he does. I want everybody that pulls on this top to prove us wrong and be a success. But we need to be a wee bit cautious here. We need to be realistic and we need to get tooled up. Now, we went out and we brought in young Osmond, as we well know, from Fulham, from Premier League 2. But that's still very much a developmental, something off a punt that hopefully goes well. We've got Johnny Kenny in the fold, decent pedigree from his time at Shamrock Rovers. And any time he's come on, he showed that he's got something to offer. But I say again, he is not that striker that fans are craving for. He is an option. It could be a very viable and worthwhile having option. But we are looking for someone who's going to score week in, week out, that you can, as I said, hang your hat on and be dependable. Someone like you had a Kyogo. We need another direct Kyogo replacement. And as of yet, well, we haven't quite had it. We've got Shin Yamada. That is all but done. He's going to be coming in probably this week. We will get an announcement at some stage regarding that. If not the turn of next week, that is definitely happening as he comes in for Kawasaki Frontale. But again, he's still going to be considered very much a punt, a developmental guy. Fans are crying out for something tangible, a figurehead striker. Now, we all thought that was going to be Matthias Christegaarden, but we lost out to him and he's made his way down to Norwich. somewhat slightly embarrassing, I would say, no matter which way you look at it, because that was a player that we openly courted for the best bit of 2 seasons, only for it not to happen for one reason or another. Yes, maybe we pivoted, maybe we were looking at other options, but on face value, that was the one that everyone was expecting. It's not happening now, so you could see the frustration. So, last night we got a new name, didn't we? We got something completely fresh. And after that victory against Sporting Lisbon, the rumours were addressed. We all saw it. French Eddie, we spoke about it right here in the podcast. The manager was asked, Edouard, there has been mention of links to him. And he came out and I would say pretty much squashed it. No, he's not someone that is on my radar. Now, of course, that could be Brendan just keeping his cards close to his chest and being coy about it. And I will repeat again, whether you like the idea or not, if Edouard was offered to you at the right price to come in, would he level us up? Would he instantly become our number 1, possibly 2 striker? Yeah, I would say that he would. Now, I don't want to be looking backwards. I always want to be moving forward. But as I say, if the price was right, would I take it? Yes, I probably would. But the manager, more importantly, said that what he wants is, when asked after his comments on Edouard, he says he wants young, fresh, exciting and fit talent that can come into the squad that are hungry. That was the term. Young, hungry players that can be moulded, that can fit this system, that can play the way that they want to do. Edouard, you could argue, is not that person. But could this guy who we've been linked with late last night be that very person, that very player? One thing's for sure, he is a young player. His goal record is decent. Could he be that hungry player that he wants? Well, let's check him out. And who is he? Now, of course, as always, when you get some foreign names, I am likely to butcher it, so apologies ahead, but I will try my best. This is Louis Montigny, who is playing at Cluj, a familiar name. Cluj, an opponent that we've faced previously in Europe. He is 23, so he is young. He is Romanian, and as I say, he's playing at a decent standard for Cluj. Now, when you look at him, this is the interesting thing. I will bring up the report, and it's obviously been caught on. Originally, the report itself came out of Romania itself from an outlet by the name of I Am Sport. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know anything about iamsport.ro. I certainly don't. I'm not going to insult your intelligence, and I'm not going to pretend to know something that I don't. But of course, the report has then since been grabbed by our homeland publications, and they are talking about it. And here, I'll bring that up. This is one here. It is from the National of all papers, of course, and it's saying here that we have had a rejected bid. Now, it says for €18 million star striker. What I will say is in caveat, and this is where it gets interesting and it gets important to bear that in mind, you would instantly look at that and say, if it's €18 million, forget about it. Celtic are going absolutely nowhere near that. Of course, the aforementioned Matthias Christegard, and the word was going to be he was going to about 10 million, 11 million pounds potentially. It turns out there was this mysterious clause in his contract that allowed Norwich to go and get him for a snap. Did Celtic know about that? Did they cool off? Did they just pivot elsewhere? Was this the pivot? Who knows? But the reports are saying here that Celtic made an €8 million bid, which converts to 6.9 million UK pounds for the under-21 Romanian star. He's certainly one of their key assets. Now, this is the bit that I have to laugh at now. The report is then saying that it was instantly thrown out by the Cluj owner, Ion Varga, with sources in Romania and close to the club saying that they want in excess of €10 million for the frontman. €10 million, yeah, do you know what? That's bringing it down. That's still not really that much money. You're talking about, the pocket at 8 million there around. But this is where it gets really funny. This is where it gets silly time, because he has apparently declared, their owner has declared that he wants at least €18 million for him, which converts to 15.6 million. Well, I don't want to just piss on the parade, but I am absolutely sorry. There is no chance that Celtic are paying that, and I will tell you why. It's nothing to do with tightness. It's to do with the cold hard facts. Now, Cluj, their record sale for any player to date has been of Alvar Piera to Porto in the 09-10 season, where they sold him for, wait for it, €6.5 million. That's some jump. I don't care how good this guy is. I'm sorry, Mr. Varga, you are not getting €18 million for him. Certainly not from Celtic, and I would be very surprised from any other European club, particularly when you look at that being so long ago, almost 15 years since they made their largest outgoing, which was €6.5 million for a left back. I'm sorry. It's just Fantasyland stuff. It's like the prices that Rangers put on some of their key assets. And in case you want to know as well, the player in question cost them €2.5 million to buy. And also as well, their record purchase in the 07 to, it's still record purchase in the 08 season was €3 million. So we'll just look at those numbers, right? They're not spending a lot of money. They're not making a lot of money. It is some jump to suddenly want that kind of money for Loic Montaigne. I'm sorry. It's just not going to happen. So Celtic get in with, by all accounts, in my opinion, what do you think? A fairly decent offer. I would say getting in there with 6.9 is a generous opening gambit. Of course, that's €8 million. I says if they're wanting in the pocket of 10, well, you're talking yourself, just bring yourself up there to about that 8 million region. I don't think that's out the ordinary. I think that we should be paying that. Of course, the trepidation is going to be the fact that trying to convince this board that we want to be spending another 9, 10, 11 million when they will look at, and again, I think decent enough players, but they will look at how well has Arne Engels done, how well has Adam Ida done. And if I'm being honest, I think they will probably have expected more. I don't know what they're expecting. Are they expecting prime Pele and prime Zidane in the midfield for these guys? I have not got a clue, but make no bones about it. I would imagine they're probably expecting just a wee bit more. And you can also see when you look at like podcasts like ourselves or general, chatter around fans, when you're talking to your pals or when you're online, there is still that comes up so much. People expect a wee bit more, and that's where it becomes a bit of a tough sell for this board. I think that we've got that money. Of course, we've got that money. I know we've got that money. We should be spending these kind of fees. I would like to hope that if this is the player, if this isn't a club signing like we heard that Shin Yamada was, that we heard that Inamura was, if this is a guy that has been identified between Tisdale and Rodgers, and that's someone that Rodgers wants, then we need to go for it. Yep, you can say, well, you wanted Ida and that's been just kind of lukewarm. Yep, I get it. But you've got to roll the dice. We have the finances. We need to get the man in. So let's look at him in profile. Let's get up our trusted friend. Let's get up transfer market and have a look at big Loic Montaigne. There's plenty here that I've got to say that I quite like the look of. There's nothing there that would necessarily concern me. I think his stats look fairly similar to that of Christegaard, as we can see there. He's 23, he's Romanian, he's currently with the underside. Now, if we look down here at his profile down the side, you can see right in here, national team career, there's a huge bank of unders. What's that? Forget the under 21s, 20 appearances, 6 goals, and then drop down the 20s, the 19s, and so on. One thing is plenty of appearances and a decent amount of goals to return there with him. As we can see, there's his market value as to where he's been. He's currently rated as being allegedly in and around the pocket of €5 million. So you can understand if that's the general sort of valuation on him. And when you look at the fact that, the outgoings and incomings in terms of expenditure for Cluj, well, that seems reasonable. That seems pretty much like a decent period and a price point for him. Here is his actual overall goal return now in 175 outings for all various levels, 68 goals, 18 assists. Not too bad. As I say, he came out of Fiorentina. He's then been at Cluj. There is some spatterings there of European experience, albeit it's Europa League qualifying that they didn't make that he's been in there with. Again, another Europa League, Europa Conference League qualifying, should I say, in there. So he's never really done it on that European level. He's never had it. There's been a wee bit of time there at UEFA Youth League there, but there's nothing been that's too massive. Let's have a wee look at some of his actual stats for his current club and maybe try to gain a wee bit of understanding as to why they are wanting this kind of money for him. This is, he's definitely one of their prized assets, but there you have it there, Europa League qualifying, which they are currently going through at this moment in time. He's popped up. He scored the goal. That's what they'll be coming up for. That's the period that they're at there. And of course, as you can see, it writes itself. So far in his time at Cluj, there's been 43 appearances on the pitch, 26 goals, 3 assists. Not bad. It's a decent return, and certainly for a team like Cluj, as I say, is going to be one of their key assets. Strikers are a commodity. They're obviously something that you want to keep hold of at any club as you try to push on domestically, but also if you want to break in, try to get into Europe. So you can understand they'll be apprehensive as they approach qualifying. They will want to make sure that they try and get through, and they will probably see losing a guy like him as being detrimental to that pursuit. But that's the news that's come out. As it says, apparently a bid has been rejected, but it seems extremely lofty. I don't think that Mr. Vargas is going to get the amount that he wants out of Celtic, certainly not out of us. And as much as I would be encouraging or excited about Celtic wanting to push the boat out and getting someone who clearly does have upshot, he is in that unders. He's trying to break into the first team of the Romanian national side, and he's been playing at a decent enough standard, as we see as well. Being at Fiorentina, of course, they are not the powerhouse Fiorentina that we know of seasons gone by. But again, he brought out there from them, Fiorentina. Let's see what we've got there in terms of the output for them. Again, he was signed enough, done well enough for them with 40 appearances and 13 goals that eventually got him moved over to Cluj. So certainly he's building on that, and that's similar in the mould, similar to the sort of numbers that we see with Christegarden. Both of them look quite similar in stature in terms of the numbers, in terms of where they are in their development. So again, it fits the bill of what Rodgers is talking about. New, exciting and hungry players. And I think hungry, well, if you can't be hungry coming from the likes of Cluj over to someone like Celtic, that should get any player salivating, chomping at the bit, wanting to go on and push on. I don't know too much about him, as I say. I've not been the grace of having to go and try and dig out the fabled YouTube clips and highlight reels. I'm just going strictly off. I just wanted to do a quick reaction because this news broke, to get it out there, to share the word on him. So we'll keep an eye on this one and see how it pans out. Hopefully there is some meat on the bone and we start to see this one moving through. As I say, it's nice to see that Celtic appear to be at least having options. What do you think of this? Does this seem like another potentially expensive punt? Do you like what you've heard there? Does that seem like someone similar to, as I say, a lot of fans get excited about Christegarden? Does that sound like a good alternative to Christegarden? Is this the kind of player that Celtic should be looking at? Or as I say, is it another shot in the dark that could be one that comes back to bite us and be falling our backside? Hopefully not, but we will keep our eyes on it. In other news, outgoings, and it's a good one, I'm sure you'll be positive to hear, and that is, of course, that the lesser seen Louis Palma is getting farmed out on loan with an option to buy to Lech Poznan. The Polish champions are taking a punt, shall we say, on Louis Palma to go out there and, I don't know, do whatever it is Louis Palma's meant to do. I suppose be creative and score them goals, get them into Europe and defend their trophy. Now this, similar to, I've got to laugh, very similar to the fact of what I've just said to you about what Cluj want versus what Cluj are going to get, or what Cluj have and what Cluj spend versus the reality world. This is similar here, and I think it's going to be a loan with a hope that he does well to get somebody else to buy him, because he's going out there on a loan with an option to buy for 4.5 million euros. Now, listen, I know that is not a lot of money. That is not a lot of money. However, when you find out that the record incoming purchase for a player by Lech Poznan is 2 million euros, it's double. And I know it's not a lot of money, but it's still double. So if 2 million is their highest purchase, they're not going to give Celtic 4.5 million euros for him. Sorry, he could go out there and score an absolute barrel load. They're not giving him 4.5 million euros for him. It's just not happening. And again, I will just say that it's double. I can't say it anymore. There's no other words to say. Celtic have maybe just priced Louis Palma out of a permanent move. Now, is there going to be another team out there that can afford 4.5 million, which is what, round about 3 million? Of course there is. But we saw that. We sent him out to Olympiacos and, well, he fell flat on his face out there. So much so they didn't even want to touch him. The Polish league, is it any better than the Greek league? No, it's not. There's no two ways about it. It's not. Is it similar to the Scottish league? Potentially. I don't know. Louis Palma is just one of the players that is a total enigma. And for me, I just don't see it. I just don't know what we do with Louis Palma, where we go with him. But yep, the news is broke. He's going to be going over. He's going to be applying his trade in Poland. And please, I hope, I pray that he goes out there and he absolutely smashes it. And I hope that maybe, just maybe, that Lech Poznan, like with the sea, and they save up all their pennies and he becomes their big marquee signing when that loan is over. Alternatively, I just want him to go out there and perform so that he's in the shop window, so that if it's no Lech Poznan, that it's somebody else that is going to go out there and buy him. Well, that is us. As I say, it's a wee early news bit there from late last night. Just wanted to pop on and get it out there. What do you think of these things? What do you think of Louis Montanu? What's your thoughts on that? Is that someone that would excite you? What about Louis Palma? Is there any comeback for Louis Palma? Is this last chance saloon? Is this just Celtic firing him out to anybody that will take him? And by the way, that's something else that I didn't mention. Yes, he's going out on loan, but based on the numbers, based on the figures, they're going to be paying a portion of his wages. I can tell you that. I don't profess to know what Louis Palma's on, but there is absolutely no chance that they are going to be paying his entire wage. It's just simply not going to be happening. So yes, it's good that he's out on loan, but we are still going to be footing a hefty wedge of that bill. So he'd best go out there and perform, stop dancing, stop TikToking, do some business, make himself a saleable asset. Well, anyway, I'm going to get out your hair. That is the news for this moment in time. If anything comes, if there's any more movement on the striker line, we'll be back to talk about it. If there's any more surprise signings, if we were to get out the blue, out the green, an actual legit signing and just a scarf pick, we'll be here to talk about it because that is what we're doing through this dreaded close season period. Thanks for catching up with us. Make sure that you hit that subscribe. It costs you absolutely nothing. We're trucking. We're nearly pushing on to that 2,000 mark of subscribers. Help us get there for the new season. Take care of yourselves. And as always, hail, hail. See you all later.